Thank you for joining today's virtual conference. Firstly, I hope each one of you is keeping safe and well. My name is Hardik Vaidya, and I'll be your host for the day. Dun & Bradstreet India, in association with Google Cloud and Brio, are glad to present this virtual conference on the pertinent topic, Fast Track Your Digital Transformation on Cloud. Before we begin, let's explore the theme. Let's see what guidelines we have on the screen that will pop up in just a moment. There you go. So we encourage you to ask more questions in this session. We request you to please type your queries in the question section. They will be taken up in the Q&A session after the panel discussion. A couple of tips though. We want to know you more. So please mention your name and the company name when you post a question. You can also mention the person you are directing the question to. Well, this session is not just about discussions and brainstorming. You have a chance to win exciting Zozo Day e-vouchers by participating in an engaging quiz that we have lined up for you today. You will need to earn about 50 and minimum 50 cloud miles to be eligible for vouchers. And top 10 scorers will get Zozo Day e-vouchers. It's very easy to earn cloud miles via the following activities. As you can see on your screen, we will be running the quiz on Mentimeter. It is recommended that you log in through two separate devices, with a laptop or a mobile, to join the webinar and participate in the quiz for a better experience. It's very easy to earn points. Asking relevant questions during the webinar will earn you 15 cloud miles per relevant question. Sharing your views and comments on a topic being discussed will fetch you another 15 cloud miles for each relevant comment. You see, getting 50 is very easy. Now, let's take a quick look at the agenda, the flow of today's session. There you go. As you can see, we have a phenomenal lineup of speakers and a fantastic panel discussion lined up in ahead of front of you. I want to take this opportunity once again, as excited as I sound, to thank and welcome each and every one of you for joining the virtual conference today. All right, so let's kickstart with the opening speaker for the day. I would like to invite Mr. Sri Murugan Veluswamy, SAP Sales Specialist at Google Cloud, to share his views with us. Welcome, Mr. Veluswamy. Thank you for joining us, and over to you.
Hey, thank you so much for that rousing intro, Hardik. You really set the context very well. So good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, esteemed panelists, the organizers, as well as everybody who's taken out time this afternoon to attend this extremely informative session that's been put together by Dun & Bradstreet and Brio, along with us at Google Cloud. Let me just take a second to put up my slide. Just give me a second. So can you confirm that you're able to see my screen?
Yes, we can. You can start.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I'd like to introduce myself. I'm a sales specialist at Google Cloud. I've been with Google Cloud for the last 6 months. And prior to that, I've had around 18 years of experience in the IT industry, donning several hats in various companies, out of which I've spent around 10 years working in SAP and SAP ecosystem organizations. So today, I just wanted to take you through a few thoughts on how you folks can get the best value from your investments by moving your IT workloads onto the Google Cloud. So most organizations, most large enterprises face two imperatives today. So if you're an ECC customer, you're an SAP customer who is still on the older version of ERP, which is ECC 6.0, your imperative is to upgrade your ERP immediately to S4HANA. But even if you do decide, to wait, because SAP has extended the deadline to move to S4HANA to 2027. If you wish to retain ECC, for the time being, the immediate way that you can actually start seeing benefits and bring about digital transformation and modernization of your infrastructure is by embracing the cloud, right? So, which brings us to a very interesting story. So SAP being the mammoth organization, the go-to software provider for so many organizations across the world, across industries, when it comes to their ERP requirements. When SAP as an organization wanted to scale up and modernize its own infrastructure, the partner that they found, which was most relevant to their requirements, was Google Cloud. So you folks would be very interested to note that Google has provisioned an exclusive region, a data center exclusively for SAP's own use, right adjacent to their Frankfurt headquarters. So this is where you would be, extremely, pleased to know that S4 HANA development actually happens on Google Cloud. SAP runs around 40 lines of businesses transactions on Google Cloud using that very data center. And if an SAP salesperson comes to your organizations tomorrow and shows you a demo of S4 HANA, rest assured that demo is actually running on Google Cloud. And Google, Google is ubiquitous today. You probably start your day using a Google application, right? Not a day passes without any of us using a Google search, right? I myself check whether my internet connection is working by, calling up a Google search prompt, right, and searching. So Google is pretty ubiquitous. There are 9 applications with more than 1 billion users, and Google is a very large enterprise. So who did Google go to when we had to search for a partner to help us solve our own business problems and to streamline our own business processes? So we relied on SAP, right? And I think this, some of you may know and some of you would be learning today. We have one of the largest implementations of SAP on the planet. And SAP actually cites Google as a case study for applications of theirs, such as even Treasury, which usually is not a product that SAP has found too many takers for across the globe. So Google has an extremely large, extremely complex implementation of SAP. And when any of our customers are migrating their SAP workloads onto Google Cloud, we always tell them, hey, who better to advise you on implementing your SAP workloads on Google Cloud than Google Cloud themselves? Because we have one of the largest SAP implementations running successfully on our own cloud, which is Google Cloud, the same cloud that's available for all of our customers. And this reference architecture, right, of such a complex landscape, as you can see on your screen, is available for each and every one of our customers, right, to use as a blueprint for their own migration and their own implementation. So we've seen customers coming to us in droves over the last 2 years. We've had a 5x growth of our customer base, and we're having new conversations every day. You'll see some of the leaders in most of the industry sectors covered in this list. The likes of Metro. You will find that some of the most complex use cases in the retail industry are very well addressed by Google Cloud, being as scalable, and as reliable and as resilient as it is. So you will find a lot of retail customers. You'll find a lot of manufacturing customers as well. And in India, we have one referenceable logo, but rest assured, we have quite a few, new adopters of Google, such as Adani, Wipro, and we still have a lot, coming in every day. So Google Cloud is absolutely production ready for SAP enterprises, right? And I would like to tell you why we can confidently say this today, right? So when a customer avails of premium support from us, we provide him with a 15-minute SLO, right? And the person who answers your call would be completely context aware of your landscape, the entire implementation itself, and all the nitty-gritties, right? It's not going to be somebody that you would have to share logs with. It's somebody that's very closely working with your project teams. And our support mechanism is completely certified by SAP, and we execute our support as well for our premium customers in conjunction with SAP. So the the escalation matrix, the war room in case of severe escalations. The entire support mechanism is jointly executed by SAP and Google Cloud. Right? We have enterprise availability, so you'd be very pleased to know that you wouldn't have to separately provision for a high availability site, because Google has high availability. We have a concept called live migration, which I will speak about in a separate slide. We have that inbuilt into our solution, so you have virtually no downtime, and you've not really provisioned a high availability site, but it's something that is inherent in our solution itself. We have 95 plus regulatory compliances. These are compliance certifications across industries, right? Across regulatory bodies, across regions, and so on. Right, and we also have a very large partner network, right? GSIs, boutique partners, OEMs, and so on, that we work very closely with and jointly architect a lot of our offerings as well. So lying beneath what we have to offer as infrastructure as a service, of course, is Google's strength as far as its network is concerned. Right, you folks would be aware that Google has invested a huge amount into fiber networks, and Google owns a lot of fiber networks either directly or through a consortium. So by merit of that, you would be pleased to know that 40% of the world's internet traffic actually passes through a network that Google either owns directly or as part of a consortium. So when we speak about our 6 layers of security in our data centers and our networks, the fact that our data is encrypted at rest as well as in transit, you would be happy to know that if you go with Google Cloud, your data is going to stay within a Google owned network for as long as possible. We call this cold potato routing as opposed to hot potato routing, where some of our competitors can't wait to get your data out of their network and into the World Wide Web. Right? So we tend to keep your data secure within our networks for as long as possible. And hey, we don't just give you infrastructure as a service and network capabilities. Right? We're not just about network compute and storage. We give you so much more. We give you management tools. We give you big data capabilities, AI and ML capabilities, as well as developer tools and IAM, all packaged into what Google Cloud has to offer. So why do SAP customers come to us? SAP customers have come to trust us for our secure, reliable, and scalable infrastructure as service offerings, because we have demonstrated in the past that with Google Cloud, you can upgrade from ECC to S4 in weeks instead of months. So we have use cases such as Tory Burch, a lifestyle products manufacturer, as well as Carrefour, one of the largest retailers on the planet. Right? We also have sub-millisecond provisioning of a like node in the case of what I was talking about our native high availability. So we have something called live migration. So in case of a planned downtime, an upgrade, or a patch, you don't really need to take your systems off. You don't have to have a downtime at all, because in a sub-millisecond interval, a like system, a like node is spun up in a different zone within that region, and you have your network traffic immediately routed to that node. The customer doesn't even get to know that there was a disruption, because there was none. And imagine the amount of money organizations can save as a consequence of this, because you have virtually no downtime at all. And of course, I've already spoken about the security, which is inherent in our networks. We have 6 layers of security in our data centers. All our data at transit as well as rest is encrypted. We also use purpose-built hardware. All the hardware that Google Cloud uses in its data centers are purpose-built by Google. They all contain an embedded proprietary chip called the Titan chip, which will not even allow the hardware to the kind of security that we provide is unmatched. We have 45 plus security certifications, which our network as well as data centers are subject to. And we already spoke about how we own most of the fiber network that data passes through globally as well. Another reason why the largest of SAP enterprises trust us and have decided to go with Google Cloud is because we are the ones who have the largest VMs, right? So we can help them to we can support the largest HANA appliances, right? So we provide an unmatched 12 TB VM, which nobody else in the market can provide today. And on bare metal, we can provide you with 24 TB in the same way. So you can grow flexibility with large VM headroom because of the VM size that we provide. And we also have customers like PayPal. PayPal is our largest scale out case study on the globe with 96 terabytes. Right, so you can save millions in terms of reduced downtime thanks to our live migration. And another important thing where you save money and where Google Cloud is of best value is you pay only for what you use. We round off to the next second while billing, not the next minute, not the next hour. We round off to the second, right? So that again is a huge saving for all of our customers. The most important thing, of course, is the time to derive insights. At the end of the day, you have your critical system, your SAP system, mission critical system on Google Cloud. How do you derive insights from this? Google Cloud has a solution, which is called BigQuery. And you drastically cut the time required to be able to, ingest all of this data and, create reports and insights based on the requirements. Right? So why do customers stay? SAP customers stay with us for as long as they do after they've implemented our infrastructure as service offerings. So we also help to modernize their applications. So we have, the new paradigm app development tools, low-code app development tools such as AppSheet, using which you can develop applications which are cloud native with very minimal or absolutely no coding at all. And these applications are based on microservices architecture. They can be containerized, and you can actually have a hybrid cloud kind of an environment, because today you cannot avoid a situation where you have some of your applications on a private cloud, some SaaS applications, as well as some of your applications on a public cloud. So the solution for that is what we call Anthos, which is basically our Kubernetes and containerization platform, where you can implement your applications regardless of the underlying infrastructure. You have a seamless IT architecture, IT landscape. Right. You can also integrate all of your applications using our API authoring and API management tool without modifying your applications at all. Incredible amount of value when you want to integrate SAP with a large ecosystem of applications and also consume, say S4HANA services as microservices. Right. So we have Apigee, again, which helps you to extend your SAP systems. And last but not the least is also what I spoke about earlier. You can begin to derive insights immediately using BigQuery, which is nothing but our data warehouse. It is a petabyte scalable data warehousing solution that customers use to integrate not just their SAP systems as a source, but also all of the other applications in their IT landscape and derive insights. You can build a data lake and you can ingest data, and you can. The name BigQuery comes from the fact that you can write massive queries, and the only skill set required to use BigQuery is the knowledge of SQL. It's simple to deploy and extremely scalable and versatile. So very quickly, with a view to time as well, I'll try to end in the next 7 minutes. So we have success stories across the globe. This is an example of a customer who's not only deployed their SAP systems on Google Cloud, they're not only using our infrastructure as a service, but they've also used other capabilities from Google, such as our AI and ML capabilities in conjunction with their SAP and SAP ERP and SAP MES system. So they've built an in-production, in-process quality inspection system based on AI and ML, which is able to visually identify any defects, right? And this is of huge value to them. A huge amount of time saved during the quality inspection process, and a huge amount of optimization done in their overall process as well. Another customer, Home Depot, they were able to completely end the problem of shelf outs. Right? We're not talking about stock outs. You go to a very large retail outlet, right? And you're searching for a particular SKU. You go to the store clerks and they tell you that they do have a couple of units of that SKU in stock, but it's nowhere to be seen because nobody in the store knows where that's been kept, which pallet it's been kept on, or which shelf, right? So it's a shelf out. Although you have inventory, you have potentially lost that sale. That revenue has been lost because you don't know where in your warehouse or in your store that particular SKU has been placed. So Home Depot was able to eliminate shelf outs completely, and they were also able to optimize their forecasting, their predictive accuracy by almost 2 times. And the shelf outs, which cost millions, they were able to save these millions of dollars, and this is a direct improvement to their top line. So it's a journey with Google Cloud, right? So while you do get immediate improvements in your top line as well as your profitability because of implementing Google Cloud, because of savings in infrastructure, because of savings as far as the time required to go live or migrate from on-premise to cloud is concerned, right? As you start running your systems on Google Cloud, you get more incremental savings, more incremental optimizations in the between the first and the second years. And as you innovate with all of the other surround solutions which are available from the Google stables, such as BigQuery and Apigee and AppSheet and all of those solutions, and Anthos, right, which basically help you to set up a multi-cloud, hybrid cloud kind of an environment, you start saving that much more money. You start adding that much more value to your organizations. You start reaping the rewards from your investments, right? So it's a journey, and as you progress in this journey with Google Cloud, the value to your organization only keeps increasing. And these are 2 publicly available resources: Total Economic Impact Report, a study conducted by Forrester, as well as a similar study conducted by IDC on the business value of Google Cloud for SAP environments. Both the studies find very similar outcomes, right? That you get an ROI, a very high ROI in a very short period, right? And we've had a myriad of companies take part in both of these studies. Disclaimer, these studies were commissioned by Google Cloud, but at the same time, the insights from these studies are very valuable to all of our customers when it comes to deciding on why to implement their SAP solutions on Google Cloud from a financial savings perspective. Another very important thing that I would like to stress to all of you is Google Cloud has a program called the Cloud Acceleration Program, where Google Cloud recognizes that the decision to move from an on-premise environment to a cloud or from another public cloud to Google Cloud is a difficult one, simply because sometimes there would be a double incurrence of cost. The customer would have to continue running his business on the existing infrastructure while maybe if it's a heterogeneous migration or a re-implementation or a complete greenfield implementation of S4HANA on Google Cloud, they will have to keep paying Google Cloud as well. So Google has incentives which are paid back to the customer in the form of credits and rebates, depending on the size of the commitment of infrastructure that the customer makes over a period of 3 to 5 years, or a rebate which is paid out to the customer based on the cost of the services that he is incurring towards implementation as well as migration services. And we can have detailed discussions with all of you folks interested out there on what the Cloud Acceleration Program brings to the table. But we can say with confidence that this program is the most generous amongst all the hyperscalers out there. So I'd like to conclude with these 4 customer successes that we have. We've already spoken about Metro, which is a global success story of ours, which is not just about infrastructure as a service, but also about how they've derived value from investing in BigQuery, and they're able to get better insights and streamline their inventory management and forecast demand a lot better. They were able to consolidate 100 ERP systems into a single S4HANA instance. And therefore, they were able to reduce infrastructure costs by 30 to 50%. Cardinal Health and Wipro are 2 case studies of our large HANA appliance use cases. They both have taken our 12 TB VMs and are successfully running SAP on GCP. And Rustomjee and Wipro are both Indian case studies for us. Rustomjee, has been a long-term customer of Google's for over a decade and a half. The journey which started with G Suite, which is today Google Workspaces, has now resulted in them moving their Suite on HANA solution onto Google Cloud, right? And they've had huge savings as well in terms of allocating resources to new projects, right? Their their spend on compute, as well as process-related improvements such as reduction in the time for customer invoicing and so on. So with that, I would like to conclude my session. I hope you folks found this useful, and please feel free to contact Brio or me. I'm the SAP sales specialist at Google Cloud. I run the SAP business for Google Cloud in India, and I would love to engage with you folks in the future for conversations around your systems and how to optimize. Thank you very much. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Veluswamy. That was truly an informative session. Lots of valuable pointers for us audience to take away. Marching forward, let's move on to the next speaker of the day. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Abdul Muneem, co-founder, Brio Technologies Private Limited, who will share his views with us. Welcome, Mr. Muneem, and over to you.
Hey, thanks, Hardik, for the intro. So, everyone, thanks for your valuable time. I'm Abdul Muneem. I'm one of the co-founders at Brio, and thanks for all your valuable time and giving us an opportunity to, talk about what we do with Brio along with Google. So, meanwhile, I'll just pull my deck. Just give me a moment. Is my screen visible, Hardik?
Now it is.
Okay, thanks. So, thanks everyone. So, digital has been one of the main reasons for disappearance of more than 50% of the companies who were listed in Fortune 500 list of year 2000. So 90% of CXOs feel that their businesses could significantly be or moderately impacted by digital trends going forward. So there's a huge opportunity on what we can achieve together. And in next couple of minutes, I would talk about how we are doing it along with Google Cloud to help customers make most out of this opportunity. So there are two things which I'm going to talk about. One is what giving a brief introduction of Brio and what services we cater to. And next thing is the most important thing is what are the considerations which we need to really have when moving SAP workloads, to the cloud. So to start with, like Brio is a 100% cloud focused company. All our bread and butter comes from cloud services. So Google Cloud has been one of our preferred cloud partners in our journey. So this relationship goes back to almost 12 years, where we partnered with Google Cloud in the year 2008, 2009. And this partnership has been very significant for us. So currently, we are a 17-year-old company with a team of around 100 people and having offices. Now everyone's working from home, but primarily we have people physically in Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Chennai. So in this 12 years, we were very fortunate to work with some of the large customers, and we work with customers of all sizes and all industries. Uh, so to talk about our services, in the cloud, primarily talking about infrastructure modernization. So be it a simple lift and shift migration, or be it a migration of any business critical workload like SAP, we have the processes, we have the tools, we have the experience to get you smoothly, on Google Cloud, be it from your on-premise, data centers, or be it other public clouds. We have the skill sets, and particularly. As Sri was, highlighting the case of Wipro, Brio as a partner is fortunate enough to work along with Google team in this one of big migrations of SAP. So coming to application modernization, we are not only helping our customers, adopt truly new, digital concepts like, microservices, containers. We are also helping and working with their engineering teams to really standardize the processes on how they can deliver the code, like, by improving their DevOps, by enhancing their CI/CD pipelines. Our customers have been greatly taking advantage of data warehouse tools like BigQuery, where with new insights they're able to completely reimagine their businesses. And the sort of decision making process has really improved with reducing timelines. So BigQuery is a as Sri was saying, a petabyte scale, data warehouse. And what we like about BigQuery is it's truly, serverless. So you don't really have to be bothered about, provisioning. You don't really have to bother about anything relating to operations. So all you have to do is focus on your insights, focus on your data, try to get those insights, and there's a true pay as you go model, which will allow you to pay you, which will where you can pay for what you're using. And one of the important thing is with little as let's say you migrate SAP to Google Cloud and you're operating. So the next step would be to really see that you improve the performance of the systems, you leverage the other tools which are offering. So can you leverage AI ML, like some of out of box solutions are available from Google Cloud, like Document AI, which can help you with entity extraction. There are a lot of pre-trained models around vision, around language, around speech to text. These are some of the pre-trained models which our customers are leveraging today to really bring AI and ML into their businesses with very small teams. uh, uh, our relationship with Google started basically with the business productivity suite of Google, which is now called Google Workspace. In this time, of 12 years, we have worked with more than 3,000 customers to help them move their emails and business productivity and collaboration tools from legacy systems to Google, and really changing the way our customers work together and get the things done. So the most important thing of what we are discussing is moving SAP to the cloud. So in this journey of SAP, be it from on-premise or any other cloud to one cloud, there are certain motivators which will have the spur, which will spur that event of moving to the cloud. So broadly we can classify them into three. One is the operations, technology, and business. So when it comes to operations, businesses might be looking at simplifying their operations, making them more reusable, and getting in the agility. And when we talk about technology, there can be many things, like there may be an SAP upgrade, or they can be migration to HANA. There can be hardware upgrades, which will trigger to think about moving to cloud. And most importantly, what we feel is it's all about automation. It's all about having that innovation and scalability that the public clouds offer. And third thing is businesses, like business reasons. It could be cost, it could be mergers and acquisitions. So these are the top level triggers which will see organization or make an organization to think of moving to the cloud. So there are like couple of considerations which have to be taken into account when we are thinking of moving to cloud. So when an organization looks into moving to cloud, these are the top six considerations which they should consider. One is scale, because as Sri was indicating, large VMs, 12 terabytes VMs, and for HANA. So SAP is a very complex system altogether, and it also has scale. So when you are evaluating the cloud, you have to make sure your requirements are met, and they're properly designed, and all the considerations are taken into account. The next thing which organizations have to look for is like the skill set. So this skill set is, can be classified into two. One is the SAP skill set, and other is the cloud skill set. So when we are talking about SAP, normally customers do have their own SAP teams. They have their own partners, deep engagements with other partners with whom they have been working for years. And this can be really, we don't see any gap or vacuum when it comes to SAP skill set. But when it comes to cloud, like partner like Brio can really bring in that value and see that we work closely with you and along with your SAP partner to see that you have a very smooth migration to the Google Cloud. Other important thing which has to be taken into account is in-flight projects. Like, let's say there are some projects which are going on currently within your organization, and these can really affect the timelines of the migration to the cloud. Cost is one of the key aspect to consider, and most of the organization tend to spend a lot of time on this analyzing. As Sri was also indicating, Google has a special cloud acceleration program for helping customers adopt GCP. So, this is also one critical aspect which has to be considered when you are thinking to move. Security is paramount, depending on the sensitivity of the data which you carry. You have to see that the cloud is able to meet your needs, it is able to meet your requirements, and you have a security strategy in place and clearly articulated when you're considering cloud. Last and least is not the least is legacy applications, because a lot of applications work along with SAP or integrated with your SAP. So you should also consider how these applications would impact the migration. So does these applications also be need to be migrated? And if they are migrated, most of the times, because they're running on old hardware, old software, they cannot be a simple thing like lift and shift. Maybe you have to re-platform them, and this also needs to be considered. So, depending on the maturity and readiness level of an organization, they could be on different stage of the cloud journey. Maybe some are just exploring, some are evaluating, and some organizations may be looking at how they can technically fill in the gaps which the other cloud provider is offering and what their business requirement is. And the ones you see in the green are all related to the pre-migration or pre-adoption of cloud, and all the ones which you have seen in blue are the post-migration stages. So, considering our experience working with hundreds of customers, what we have learned is moving to cloud is not just a IT project. It needs a serious, involvement from leadership. They have to be buying from leadership, and we need to have that whole backing from the high level management to see these projects are successful. And second thing is they definitely need time, because it's just not going to be a flip of button where everything is going to change. So considering this, we and working with these hundreds of customers, we have come across a framework which involves three aspects, of people, process, and technology. Usually, when IT projects are concerned, people mostly talk about people and technology, and they do tend to keep processes, not on priority. But our experience has been working with Google has been if there is an intersection between people, processes, and technology, that is where we see the true innovation coming, and that is where we see the true ROI coming, into the business. So these are very important aspects. Now coming to the methodology, we normally follow, four stages. Once a customer decide to move on to the cloud. First thing is the foundation. So this is where we go set up the whole GCP, projects. This is where we decide who gets access to what. Look into the security requirements, looking into the network requirements, how each project is going to talk to another project, what will be the network implications. So this is the phase where we call it like this. This is called foundation, cloud foundation. Other phase is mostly it's about application discovery, where we discover what are the applications which have to be migrated, how they would be migrated, what are the challenges which we are going to see. So then, if after this whole planning, comes the actual thing where we go and migrate these applications to Google Cloud. And this is a very iterative phase where we try to get in a application, see that it has the overall architecture, well-defined architecture, how it would look on Google Cloud, and it has clear-cut plan, and the tools have been identified correctly. Then once this is done, then we go on, we do the sizing, and we sort of set up the target environment in Google Cloud. And then probably as per the plan, what has been planned, for the migration happens, the actual deployment happens, where your SAP partner would be involved and your team will be involved. And once this is done, the process of executing some basic tests, seeing the readiness of go live, and all these things happen, and the go live take place. So this could be for one environment. Maybe we'll start with a quality environment, then and your production environment comes. So this is an iterative cycle. But what really happens after this is more important, because Google and Brio just don't want to be a partner with you where we are just partners till go live. We want to take this partnership way beyond that phase, and for where we see like we are optimizing your infrastructure on the cloud, and see how your team can really get that innovation and speed and agility within the organization being on the cloud. So there's a high level approach which and journey I have talked at a very high level. So why partner like Brio is important, because what we have seen is we really fast track the cloud adoption within your teams. We become a context aware support between you and Google. The best thing is you keep on enjoying the same benefits what you enjoyed directly working with Google, but working with a partner brings in an extra layer of support, which is really important. So, talking all about this, we would definitely love to catch up with you all. For all our participants, we are offering a half-day free cloud assessment workshop where we will come and we want to know where you are in your cloud journey, and what we want to explore how Brio and Google Cloud can be a partner of your choice in your cloud journey. So thanks for all your time, and we look forward to get connected with you post this session. Over to you, Hardik. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Munib. Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives with us and the wonderful presentation. Let's quickly move on to the quiz. We have some exciting questions for you, actually. A few instructions to guide you, though, before we move forward. This quiz, though, is going to be running on menti.com, as we mentioned at the start. And the link with the login code is visible on the screen, which you can see right now. I request everyone to quickly log in on menti.com. Use the code 41524611, as you can see on the screen, to quickly log in. So kindly see on the browser once you sign in. It is preferred that you log in with the same email ID which you have registered for today's session. You have prizes to win, so it will help us identify a little quickly. You will get some time to answer each question. So I hope by now almost everyone has joined in, and let's give a couple of seconds more so that all of you can join in and participate in this interesting quiz. We have a couple of questions that will be popping up in front of you. There will be options. You have to click, and at the end, we will be able to choose who the winners are. So in the next few moments, we will be having the quiz popping up on your screen, and I see that with this, right? So please enter your email address. Like I mentioned, it will help us identify the winner, and that's the start. And in the next couple of moments, you will be seeing the question. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen. Each and every one of you must participate. Exciting Zozo Day e-vouchers at hand to win. If we can commence with the quiz, our participants are ready. So please enter to start the countdown as it says on the screen. So I'll request a teammate to please do the needful and start the first of the 7 questions, which will be going by in a jiffy. If you have the questions, we can commence with the quiz. Well, the questions are 7. You will not have a lot of time to think and contemplate. So the answers have to be quick. Please punch your options in very, very quickly. May I request the team to please start off with the first question? Which of the following statements could be used to describe a private cloud deployment? Those are the four options you have. Less than 20 seconds, 14, 13. Quickly punch in, ladies and gentlemen, your options very, very quickly so that we have a quick understanding of where we are. Excellent. So those are the options that we have. All right. So we've got one person who's been able to identify that correct option. Let's move further. The second question. I request all of you to please participate. That's right. Answer fast. What is a hybrid cloud? That's the question. And those are the options. I request all of you to please ensure you punch your option in. Those are the four options that you have. I would request each and every one of you to please participate in the quiz. Okay, so that's the correct answer. Let's move on to the question number 3. According to shared responsibility model in public cloud, which of the following components are cloud customers not providers responsible for? And those are the options. And there you go. Okay. All right. Never mind. Let's move on to the next question. Question 4 of 7. I request once again everyone to please participate. Which of the following acronyms refer to a software distribution model in which a cloud provider manages and hosts an app that users access via the internet? Those are the four options that you have. In 3, 2, and 1. Let's see who's got that right. Excellent. That's great. That's a resounding 6 of you who've got that right. Question 5 of 7. What does it mean when a public cloud provider has an availability of 5 nines? Time's up. So third option was the correct one. Question 6. True or false? Enterprises can physically ship their data to some public cloud providers to upload that data into the cloud. True or false? Answer was true. All right, let's move on to question number 7, the last question of this quiz. True or false once again? It is only possible to use a public cloud instance or VM on demand rather than reserve one in advance. True or false? And the correct answer is false. So 5 of you got that right. So congratulations on that. And those are the leaderboard scores. The winners will be contacted post the virtual conference today. So congratulations, Croc, 2869 points. Congratulations. Well, let's move on further. Like we mentioned, asking relevant questions during this conference will earn you 15 cloud miles per relevant question. Sharing your views, comments on the topic being discussed will fetch you 15 cloud miles for each relevant comment. So to get to know Bryo's cloud assessment workshop, please contact Team Bryo at getoncloud@bryo.co.in. I'll quickly repeat that once again. So it's called getoncloud@bryo.co.in. All right, so let's move on to the most awaited knowledge sharing session and the interactive session, the panel discussion. The discussion is on the topic, which we all believe is pertinent and very timely. Fast track your digital transformation on cloud. Like we saw some very interesting names in the house today. Our moderator, first of all, I'm happy to welcome the session will be moderated by Mr. Vivek Sharma, Senior Domain Specialist at Dun & Bradstreet, India. Welcome to the boardroom, Mr. Sharma. It's a pleasure to have you once again. Our first speaker for the session is Mr. Ayan Day. He's the Chief Technology Officer at Exide Life Insurance Company Limited. Good to have you with us, Mr. Day. Our second panelist is Dr. Suresh A. Shan, Head Innovation and BITS at Mahindra Mahindra Financial Services Limited. Thank you, Mr. Shan, for joining the panel today. Following him is Mr. Jagannath Ramshankar, SVP Cloud and Cybersecurity Head, Mar Labs. Thank you, Mr. Shankar, for joining us. And next up on the panel is Mr. Sanjeev Agrawal, Chief Digital Officer at Ramco Systems. It's a pleasure to have you all. Thank you for being with us here today. I request all of you to please switch on the videos in case you haven't yet. And also, please unmute yourself. With this, we will move on with the panel discussion. And over to you, Mr. Sharma.
Thank you, Hardik. Good afternoon to all the panel speakers and a very warm welcome. We had 2 very interesting presentations, and the topic that we are planning to discuss in itself is very interesting. So I would not like to spend much time and straight away move on to my first question. It's about intelligent enterprise, and there are a lot of different thoughts that come to mind of a person when you think about intelligent enterprise. For some people, it could also be a noun, but mostly, I would say that it's an adjective, precisely if you look at it from the perspective of understanding it. So let me move on to Mr. Ayan Day and ask his views on what he feels or how will he like to define an intelligent enterprise at the first place, and what kind of competitive edge do intelligent enterprise hold over their peers. So if you can share your views quickly.
Thank you, Vivek, and it's a pleasure and a privilege. My greetings to DNB for having me here in this panel today. Good afternoon to all panel members. Very, very interesting presentations that we saw, and I was actually feeling, a little envious when Sri was taking me through his presentation of how Google Cloud GCP is helping SAP, upgrade itself and be adopted in its new cloud avatar. But I represent the insurance industry. The industry itself is more than 100 years old. And the core applications that we typically use are almost 60 to 70 years old. They have been architected in those eras. And they were the times when, the monoliths were created. And over decades, the business knowledge, the business information, all of that got stored and built layer over layer on these systems. So when the last 10 years, CIO started discussing that is cloud the way to go, then it became evident that the crown jewels, the family silvers would be the last to go. So the core systems would be the last to go to the cloud. And rightly pointed out, because there are difficulties and it is not that easy. But having said that, ever since the last, I would say, 14, 15 months, ever since the pandemic hit the market, at least in our industry, you understand that when an insurance policy is sold, typically all of you would have experienced that in your life at some point of time, that it's the agent who comes and it really meets you and takes you through the features of the product, and it's basically it's a promise. So it's a financial promise. And the moment the pandemic hit, it became extremely difficult for this kind of the sale operation to happen. Now, how do my agent goes out on the street and how does the customer engage him? He will not be even called inside his house. And over a telephone call, it becomes very, very difficult to explain a complex product like an insurance product. So there was no other way but for the entire industry to become smart overnight, as we call it. And then, of course, the company I represent, Excite, we decided that it was time that we pack the entire office of the agent in his mobile phone. Because while there were few pieces which were already available, but we realized that it is impossible. It is not only for the agent to go and meet the customer in a physical format, but it is also not possible for us to meet him in the office. So he can't even come back to the office. All the paperwork, all validations, the entire form filling, entire journey, insurance being a complex product, the agent is at times held by his manager or even by the contact center guys. Now, how do you do it? So overnight, all of these nifty solutions came into being, where you had your co-browsing solutions come into the picture, and you had your integrated validation come into the picture, and overnight you went and integrated yourselves with UIDI interface. All of these things happened actually within a space of 15 days to 45 days. But this was last year. But after 6 months, the industry also realized that, okay, the knee-jerk reaction phase is over. Now we have to build for future. And how do we build for future is when we start looking at the data points and the intelligence coming out of this. This was a time when the entire industry started looking at synchronizing all of these pieces which had been brought together as a matter of, emergency kind of a situation in the March and April months of 2020. So at least in our industry, there is no other option left. It's a question of survival, basically, for the entire industry, that we have to go from the process-oriented way to the intelligent way of selling. And of course, you understand, life insurance is also a product where you are engaged with the customer for the 25 to 30 years of time. And you have to service him also till the maturity of the product, of the policy is arrived at. So that means you will have to, again, store this data in a linear way and in a way that it can be actually be monetized, utilized, and then finally given a shape that you can take it forward in the future. So that is how at least our industry has quickly moved towards being a process-oriented industry to a completely intelligence-based industry.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, can I take the liberty to say that an intelligent enterprise in insurance is one which can convert documents and data into insights and take action accordingly?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for. And Mr. Sanjeev Agarwal, your views on this particular question on intelligent enterprise, what constitutes, what are the key components of it, and how it provides an edge or advantage over the peers which have not adopted some of the tools.
Okay, so I think I will say one is that there is a lot of hype about intelligent enterprise, from a technology perspective, intelligent enterprise would be, considered as someone who is using a lot of, big data analytics, AI, ML, prediction logic, statistical modeling, nearer to the customers using ARV, AV technologies, etc., drones, let's say for delivery. Those are kind of an intelligent enterprise from a hype perspective. But I think there are a couple of things which an enterprise should have a prerequisite in order to consider to be as an intelligent enterprise. These are the tools, I think, for making it happen. But I think the first one is the organization moving towards a digital enterprise, like Ayan mentioned for an insurance background, and I also spent some time in the insurance industry. So any process which is based having human interaction needs to be converted as much as possible using digitization or any other tools which has to, so that there is a straight through processing. And that's, I think, the first part which an organization which needs towards a digital, which has to move towards an intelligent enterprise should move towards that. I think the second is that how quickly you can capture the data, whether in the insurance industry, the agent, latitude, longitude can be captured wherever the agent is, wherever the customer is, so that if you have to do any analysis based on the locational data, you can do it. Or for manufacturing, the PLC devices or IoT devices, or for FMCG industries, the data is coming through various, let's say, point of sale equipment. So those are the ones which have to be picked up. So these are the couple of one, and maybe others like companies should actually be involved, and the culture should be there for data and fact-based decision making. Management should be looking at event-based actions rather than waiting for the monthly boardroom meetings and okay, we will discuss, debate, deliberate, and then take an action. So the processes should drive towards event-based decision makings, etc. So I see these are the ones which are prerequisite, and with all of these tools, there could be better predictions, okay, better dashboarding, continuous event, and then you will be able to, address your partner ecosystems queries also.
Absolutely. I think you... Sorry, please go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just wanted to now put up, I know I've been speaking a little bit more than allocated time maybe, but
No, you made a very, very good point. I think I can associate it with agility, if I'm not wrong. I mean, if I could understand, because you were saying...
that was the point I was planning to cover, but when you said edge over competition, I think what today is you need is an edge over competition is agility first part, which you rightly said. How fast, how speed, what is the speed, what is an agility, which I can be doing, how can I have a competitive advantage, how can I increase my customer experience or employee experience or partner experience, all that matters. Ecosystem experience matters today's world, rather than only the customer experience. And how this intelligent enterprise is going to give me a competitive advantage either on my top line or on my bottom line and on my sustainability of the business, because it's important today's environment to not have a quarter to quarter only, projections, but also to sustain for a longer period of time, like Tata's who have been there for hundreds of years. Some of these organizations need to sustain themselves. So I think these are I will think with an intelligent enterprise, these are the advantages one can get over a competition. There are tools, and then there are process, people-related, culture-related changes. I think this is all, all two or three together mixed should be considered from an intelligent enterprise perspective.
Sure. Thank you for your views. Let me quickly move on to Mr. Shankar, and he has been waiting. So hear from his views on what he feels or how will he like to define an intelligent enterprise, and what kind of competitive edges come because of that? Because you are an intelligent enterprise, how does that help? I would like to hear from you, sir, first.
All right. First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. So let me answer this. I'm from the IT services background. So let me, sitting on the other side, as against most of the other panelists. So let me answer this in the context of how it was done in our company in the context of IT services. Now, yes, the pandemic hit hard. Hit us very hard, especially IT services companies who were not prepared. So there are a few things that we need to do to be able to prepare. So the fundamental thing about any an intelligent enterprise is that trying to use the data to convert it into insights. So to be able to do that, you will have to be having mechanisms or systems in place that are collecting good quality data so that you are getting good quality insights, which in turn allows you to sort of react to very quickly react and respond to the changes that are happening in the environment and business. So we did implement SAP as our primary ERP system, which was a centralized system that had, including the projects, HR, all the modules of SAP we implemented. So that allowed for a very centralized, clean collection of data. On top of that, we were running the analytics to be able to look at, be able to predict how accurate our guidances are, what type of people we have to hire, what are the trends in people taking leave, especially when you have T&M projects. So you need to be able to sort of accurately predict when the most of the people are likely to take leave and who are not taking leave, which will lead to amount of money that you have to provision in your balance sheets, etc. Add to that also, what we also did was to instrument the system. One of the things that we did was to tie in your access control with your attendance system, so that you are able to track as to how many hours people are in the office. Then, as a policy, we said everybody, until unless the customer mandates, everybody gets a laptop. Okay, so that sort of helped. We also enabled, although we were not heavily encouraging people to work from home, there was a policy about 5 days in a month you could work from home. But there was a policy to reimburse their internet connection fees, etc. So now when the pandemic hit, it allowed us to, easily track where people are, and then transform people to start working from home, because people were already ready with their laptops and internet connection. So, there was a time last year when, even the USB dongles were running out of markets. Laptops were not available. Even now also there are issues with laptops. So we did not run into any of those situations. So being able to use these, your systems in place to be able to get some insights and applying what could potentially be coming on down the road, and then be able to respond to that is what constitutes your intelligent enterprise. And that, to me, is the biggest competitive advantage that the intelligent enterprises have.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for making it so precise. And at the same time, you have kind of given us the bullet points that can really help us to understand how to build an intelligent enterprise as well. Thank you for that. Let me move to Mr. Suresh San, and he's waiting for a long time now, sir. I would like to hear from you a little different perspective here. We heard about what is an intelligent enterprise, but I would like to know from you, how do ERP systems accelerate the building of intelligent enterprise? I mean, if somebody has to, adopt the ERP, how will it help, take the business to the next level or make it as intelligent, if we have to call it that way?
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thanks for this opportunity with you all today, and thanks to Google, SAP, and DNB who has made us to meet you all today. The question especially starts with that, like, try to create an ERP or the strategy to build part of the ERP comes part of an enabling the smart enterprise, like how we can try to use it out. When we laid the infrastructure or when we laid the strategy, we thought like how to create a strategy when it impacts a lot more when you're trying to attract and trying to get connected, keeping high availability and scalability part of it. So we made it part of the circle, which consists of essential infrastructure, try to build as much as on the latest technology of virtualization, and trying to build even part of the operating system, which has enough in terms of application migration, where we had separate migration team working on more on collaboration channels, omni-channels, separate for the application which caters to business. And we have a specific cell which works only on the technology migration, which try to use the kind of omni-channels through mobility and IoT, using security internally with the cloud integration, keeping the social media high available through web presence, and trying to monitor through the management tools and keeping the green efficiency part of the company strategy. That's where it enabled and tried to create a part of the ERP. When we said ERP, we had internally planned to have even the data center views into on available in terms of how we can connect to try to use for the internal, external and the intermediate people part of it, which try to use the relevant data on the relevant times and timely. So we try to divide the data center into three parts, where the ERP will try to continue to deliver through on-prem data center, which will have all the connects across the location, try to utilize the data center. And we had that enterprise cloud service, ECS, which builds as much as on the lighter applications and the collaboration channels, what are we try to engage with customers, because the kind of expectation set part of our kind of experience when we try to operate more in rural India. For us, e-business is less of electronics, more of emotions. How trying to capture the emotions, keeping the ECS part of it, we try to build enterprise cloud applications, trying to use, which is based on the availability. And the third one is high density data center. This what it caters a lot in terms of what type of information available internally, and trying to connect to the parts internally to try to bring out, either you call it as analytics, either you call it as trying to do a day-end process, or trying to upload as much as information comes part of the high density data center. So when we try to frame such a way, we instead of having 1 petabyte of data everywhere, we are able to partition, slice, and try to use the containers separately, and trying to define such a way like which will be part of the internal and which will be part of the in-house data center, which we call it as on-prem data center, which is required for the mediators. In our case, customers are less. Rural customer, nobody gets in, nobody is able to use it. So we have to serve the dealers, brokers, agents, who are the mediators should use the information and trying to utilize part of the ACS, that's enterprise cloud services. And the people who sit across the country, they want to do the profit and loss, trying to use it. They use high part of the high data density of this. So ERP try to optimize as much as on-premise data center, which is available for my intranet users, internal users, where the bandwidth is about 2 Mbps. Wherever it is less than 2 Mbps, they have to use through the available channels, which tries to build using the enterprise system with the infrastructure, migrate as much as bigger applications, trying to make it part of mobile, so they can come through the enterprise cloud, so that they no need to use the ERP systems. The third one is leverage as much as resource based on the last mile, and trying to use a highly secured hybrid environment, so that the ERP is today trying to cater. Even though I have 1,600 locations, irrespective of connectivity, resource availability, and electricity, we are able to give enterprise solutions and trying to capture that. This is what the ERP works majorly in rural kind of operation in an Indian context.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Mr. Shankar, we want to quickly add to this aspect about role of ERP system in accelerating building of intelligent enterprise. Couple of points here from your side.
Yeah. So quickly, 2-3 points. One, it reduces your data footprint. Thereby, you are able, your performance is improved, scalability is improved, and then it also allows you connectivity with open source systems, so that you can expand the functionality. Secondly, also is that it is a very intuitive and user-friendly and user interface, providing data anytime and anywhere access to information. So that also sort of helps. So that there is a fair amount of standardization across be it HR, finance, or projects, so that people can easily navigate without having to go through steep learning cycles. And also being able to see transactions and real-time alerts on the same screen. So in that case, if there are things like any issues, that could be resolved much faster. And the biggest bang for the buck that it gives is deduplication of processes for improved consistency and productivity. So that way, you are not running redundant processes. There are no silos created. Your core data is normalized and is maintained. Thereby, some of these fundamentals it automatically enforces and takes care, enabling you to move into your transformation journey much more rapidly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. This takes me to my next question, and I would like Mr. Sanjeev Agarwal to share his views on this particular question, which is about advantages of migrating ERP workload to the cloud. Mr. Agarwal, if you can share your views on this.
Sorry, I missed the question. Can you quickly repeat, please?
What are the advantages of migrating ERP workloads to cloud?
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I think number one, ERP workload and for a for an existing customer versus a new customer which is coming in. And I think from a person, new company or a new customer who is coming in, what we have seen is it has humongous advantages. One is in terms of the flexibility, speed, scalability, all that comes into picture straight away. The need not invest upfront in capital. Your UAT dev servers can immediately start. You can spin those and scale up, scale down very, very quickly and fast. And we see that the total cost of ownership in including all the components, whatever components which we need to look at, this really helps in terms of the for a customers who is onboarding into an ERP. Immediately these kind of cost benefits comes into picture. And I think the another from a cost other than that cost is the speed. There are various standard models which are available. We can reuse those models. Apart from that, apart from the basic transactional or a process automation perspective which ERP provides, the other different tools which are very important for a digital transformation or a industry to become really an intelligent enterprise, which we discussed earlier, is in terms of how you can benefit from the ecosystems based APIs, which is very easily, or ecosystem based products which are available in the cloud, so easily plug and play. Like if you want to do, some predictive algorithms, you just need to call up an API and you will get predictions based on different industry models. You can choose the model, etc., etc. You can get advantages. A simple thing like my friend was mentioning in the insurance industry, conversion of a document into an OCR document, scanning a PAN card, Aadhaar card, converting and reading the Aadhaar number, etc. Those are, standard algorithms which are so easily available. And if you try to do it on an on-prem, it takes a humongous amount of task. So I see the benefit both from cost, agility, speed to market, and also when you grow more from the process automation to more of a digital enterprise, you get a lot of tools and techniques available for ready to use on the cloud. And apart from that also is sometimes we do have to do a lot of experiments. And if you do a lot of experiments in on-prem, it becomes very difficult. You cannot buy 20 tools because you have to pay license and all that and create infrastructure. Here you can, if you don't like and you want to quickly switch off to another tool or another facility, you can quickly do that. So these are I think the quick flexibility and advantages one gets on the cloud. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Having understood the advantages, I will move on to the best practices which are also required, and like Mr. Ian did to help us understand what are some of the best practices when it comes to seamlessly migrating ERP workflows to cloud. So if you can share your views, Mr. Ian.
Yes, Vivek, thank you for that question. This is a very critical one because I always believe that a decision of migrating to cloud cannot be a technology decision. It has to be business first. Your stakeholders, they will have to understand the benefits coming out of this decision. This is a critical decision. And I think in one of the presentations we had seen that this is just not like any other IT project. This is a decision which is for the future. And possibly this is going to lay out the strategies, the IT strategies as we go along on this entire decision. So I clearly see that business first is something which has to be there. The stakeholder agreement has to be there. And then subsequently, we also have to understand that what is the enterprise architecture maturity of your enterprise system. So it is quite possible that you are really working with a very, very old system which is not architected in a way, which is not matured in a way. The integration layers have not been taken care of in a way that you can simply do a lift and shift. So then in that case, that becomes one of the most critical decisions that the CIO will have to make in this situation. Next very critical thing I always faced earlier also, and now also it's a big question, is how good is your data governance structure in place. So do you have a proper data classification available? Are the stakeholders and the users, they are completely in tune with the various silos of data that we are having? What is the kind of deduplication we have in place? Because the moment you start moving to cloud, it becomes then inanely, expensive solution for you, and it's not going to give you the right amount of benefits if you don't take care of your data decisions right away. Now, this is the data decision is into two parts. First is your classification in the beginning, and second is the moment you are moving to cloud, what are the kind of data governance platforms you are investing in? So, do you have the right decisions of access in place? Do you have the IDAMs in place? Is it decided that on what basis what access will be given to which user? I'm talking about very practical situations here, because what happens is that the moment this entire movement is done, then after that, whatever data governance you had, even on-prem, even that is lost. So you have to be very, very clear about it, and you need to have your users in place, and they need to give you these answers before IT steps in. Then do you have a strong sense of organizational, I would say, acceptance to the entire movement? Unless this is there at that level, then it becomes an IT exercise, and then you are only sitting with problem tickets and issues, and then it becomes a kind of a situation which slowly unravels into basically an experiment by IT. And another important thing, see, many of our industries have been there for years, decades together. You may not have the right talent with you today for your cloud migration. Do you have the right people with you? People who were born in the cloud, who understand cloud nativity. You need to build that team in place. You should have that team before you get into this. Because what will actually happen is that your vendor, your partner will be, talking in Greek, and you will be speaking back in Chinese. Very, very important that you actually address this factor before you step in. And finally, this is a major exercise in the entire, I would say, the life cycle of the organization. Have you thought about the target state? After the entire cloud migration is done, where exactly is the organization going to reach? And I'm not talking about a tick mark on the IT charts. It started with a business decision. It has to end with a business benefit. Now you need to define the target state, sitting with your the entire CXO group, and then only step into this kind of an exercise. Once you have sorted out these 6 or 7 critical things, I am sure that your entire migration process is going to be a super success, and you will have the entire buy-in, and you'll also see the benefits at the end of the day.
Yeah. Since you spoke about all these aspects, I have a connected question where I will also like to hear from you before I go to other panel speakers. You spoke about the data part, and data has become very, very important. We all know.
Yes.
So leveraging data for an organization is also very critical. So what kind of right tools and technologies that an organization can use, according to you, to leverage this data, and how will cloud platform help in this? I mean, some quick thoughts from you here.
Yeah. See, ultimately, what is critical to us for all CIOs sitting here is basically the data that we hold. That is the most important part of it. And we are all aware that what has happened in the US in the last 10 years from the personal data security part of it. Subsequently, in the last 6 years, we have seen what has happened in Europe with GDPR. And as we speak, all of us are aware that our parliament is discussing on the IDPR structure. And we are all expecting that maybe by the monsoon session of the parliament, it will be out. Now, once that happens, you will be facing, every CIO will be facing, very, very difficult questions like the customer may come back to you on a right to be forgotten. Now, I come from the insurance industry. I had just mentioned that we have an engagement with the customer which goes back to almost 30 to 35 years and 40 years. The regulator asks us to keep the data secure even after the maturity of the policy is over for 7 years. So if the maturity is taking, let's say, 30 years, then I have to store the data securely for another 7 years. So that is the kind of data, engagement I have in my industry. Similarly, tomorrow when IDPR comes up, possibly we will have rules like mandatory disclosure of every single data breach. Now, once these kind of issues come in, how do you define your personal data? How you ensure? So, in my previous point, I was mentioning that a very, very critical piece here is for organizations to define the data governance. We need to have in place a proper governance administration structure where we know that what access has to be given to whom. And similarly, see, today we are moving to cloud. Tomorrow, we just heard in one of the presentations, there is always a possibility of a multi-cloud or a hybrid cloud environment. You will anyway continue to live with some of your pieces on-prem. Now, you are looking at so many complex things together. How do you ensure that when the data is moving from one platform, another platform to the third platform, you have a single pane of glass to ensure that everything is in control? So you need to have those kind of. So today you have good solutions. So very, very strong software-driven data center applications are available to you. But you need to understand what they can deliver and what they can't deliver. Now you need to ask certain questions. What kind of encryption structures can you bring in the cloud? Now, if you are using a public cloud, does the cloud allow you to bring in your own key? Is it hardened enough, to take care of any kind of triple layer breaches? So basically, these tools and techniques are available with most of the CSPs today. The only challenge here is how you marry it with your own processes, define your own governance structures, and then finally, you ensure that the administration of your applications, it might be a SaaS application, it might be your ERP application, how between the two, the data exchange continues to happen. Because data at rest and data in motion, both will have to be taken care of.
So you are saying strong controls need to be in place to ensure that you are not just compliant, but you also leverage on data properly. Is that right?
And very strong access management.
Okay, thank you for that. I will quickly move on to Mr. Suresh and like to get his views on, the critical point of, data being so important, and you need the right tools and technology to, kind of harness that and utilize that. So, sir, what's your take on this? What kind of tools and technologies are required, and how can cloud platform help in achieving this particular goal? Sir, please unmute the device. I think the device needs to be unmuted. We are not able to hear you.
It's a great option in terms of internally to decide with business. Here, slightly I disagree where business is 50%. Cloud enabled, we did a migration recently, the overall company data, more than 1 petabyte financial service sector data. We found none of the financial services matured enough to migrate every 3 years except the financial services. So financial services, they got into the deep drive immediately because every 3 years, ritually, they got upgraded, and the system was so disciplined beyond the kind of what you call the culture of the organization. Every 3 years they got migrated. Even Oracle side, no, they are in the versions like 10G or 11C, they are able to migrate. The other internally, the subsidiaries, or you call it as MIBL insurance, again, we got into broking, again, housing, again, into the personal loan, gold loan. All those areas, they were using some legacy systems, which is more than what are you call 10 years, and they have not done ritually the upgrades also. There, we took a stand just to pick up the data and upload into the system. If required, some places we re-entered the data. That's a decision taken part of the culture in terms of doing it out. But the huge volume, since they are into some discipline, it does it. So IT plays 50%. Until the migration doesn't happen every 3 years, then IT will take a big hit in terms of doing again an alternation forward, which again I can tell also the overall group decided to migrate for mails, which we removed for the subsidiaries also because they couldn't migrate the mails and they couldn't use it part of it. So culture of the organization, again, regulators, the way they define, and the business. Surely business takes a major point in terms of doing it out. And if you claim to do that, during COVID, we are able to have that seamless of a private cloud or a public cloud. We found, especially in rural India, something called a community cloud, which is nothing but an earn to pay model. We want to make that customer to earn so that he can pay for us. This enabled, and even dealers, broker agents. For example, a dealer, Maruti dealer, before Corona, he was selling only Maruti vehicles. Suddenly he says, I have enough customer, but I don't have Maruti requirement. I even want to sell two-wheelers. I even want to sell second-hand vehicles, which was not there earlier. before COVID. So now he says, as part of the financial services, can you make me to or enable me to do similar things? So this we call it as community cloud, where he wants to do so many things, not necessarily his product, and he's trying to create an earn to pay model. We want to make him to earn so that he can pay for me back. So similar kind of things as cooked during the period, and that is also forced part of it. So when we did our migration, we have made it very clearly to create 3 environments. Umsor is going to be on the task force. Let them use as much as on the open source and trying to continue to build solutions on open source. Umsor is going to sit from the location, trying to use the available bandwidth. Will have both open source and Microsoft. And the people who sit from head office, RO and Zeto will have only cloud, which is on SAP and Oracle only. So when we defined it and we are able to make it clarity, this user and this based on the bandwidth, electricity and resource availability, these are the things, and we made part of the strategy. Even a person who joins the company, part of the task force, will get an open source login only, and he will get all the applications developed part of it. Even big ERPs like Oracle Financials, SAP related, we have broken into small pieces of mobile modules, try to capture part of the system, send back to the central system, and ours is centrally stored with distributed data capture. Meaning you can put any omni-channel and trying to capture the data, send it to the central system, trying to upload part of SAP and try to generate whatever you want to try to do it. So which was very seamless, and we are able to operate at rural India. Again, we are able to cope up with the current, whatever the turmoil which is happening, and trying to make use of it, which IT has created a strategy from beginning of every 3 years to get it as a discipline, whether you like it or not, bring as much as with the latest and trying to utilize part of it, which has enabled, and the company takes a decision. Tomorrow I want to get into cloud, let it be a private cloud, let it be public cloud, or let it be even a community cloud. The data and the system is available. Beyond that, the upgrade versions, operating system, versions of the Oracle, Microsoft, even open source, all those things creates that whatever teething issues was not a major one. So we are able to push it, and cloud partner is also happy because he is able to support whichever we are using, which is part of the latest, and they are also available part of it. So
Sure.
we can handle the expertise. It's more of a, it's a culture, and part of it who are all ready with the kind of such culture are the right people to move to cloud, and cloud can get benefit, and they can get benefit part of the cloud. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sir, quickly, if you can, help us also understand the reference architectures and how they can be utilized quickly in probably 2 minutes, that will really help us. Mr. Suresh?
So it's again, yeah, it's a great question. When you set a strategy, the strategy generally should give us what it is. In our case, since we have 1,600 locations, we have 8 million customers with 35,000 users, we have put a strategy to find out, to say, what are the major concerns for as a financial services for me to reach the customer. One is connectivity, bandwidth is a problem. Second is electricity, because I have some locations still have only 3 hours electricity. The third one is resource availability in the last mile. So when I put a strategy for the location, I put the same strategy for my head office also, to bring out when the data center is made and the data is made available to them. Both strategies should be synchronized where we don't have connectivity issues. So try to break as much as mobileable, and even my customers today, they can connect to me using Telegram or WhatsApp. So bring out which he can seamlessly come to me, how the data can be taken, and bring out the channels, part of it, which is reasonably available and how secured it is. So both put together, the strategies are put, the relevant infrastructures are made available, and the cloud. When we try to talk to the cloud, we made very clear to them, even though if it is Google, for example, my executive will enter something called his travel expenses. When he enter his travel expenses, he will cross-check with Google to find out what is the government chart for a place. Like suppose I want to travel from Mumbai to Thane, the travel fare in a taxi is 500 rupees. That data from Google will fetch inside. So that the purpose of Google, the purpose of SAP as an ERP, which will empower my executive when he enters the money, an accountant no need to go and verify 500 rupees is right or wrong. Rather than it's a data already available, it will cross-check and put it out. So that's the way strategy is made. That's the way business is made. Keep this customer simple, both internal and external. Try to use what are available resources, part of our business, which is a major strategy to enable them.
Absolutely. Yeah, sure. Thank you for that. And, I must say that I would have loved to continue this discussion on and on, because I was myself getting a lot of insights, but in the interest of time, we will have to stop now. My apologies. I could have, as I said, I could have definitely continued longer, but we have run out of time. I would like to thank all the panel speakers for sharing some of the wonderful insights that I personally got to know about intelligent enterprise, the ERP systems, how you can take it to cloud, how you can utilize the data, what are some of the best practices that you follow when you are doing the migration. And last but not the least, sir also helped us understand in the end about reference architecture, which has kind of completed our discussion for today. And I must say, it was just amazing, if I have to put it in one word. And without disturbing Mr. Hardik, if I can take your permission to move on quickly to the questions that I have got and ask Mr. Abdul and Mr. Sri Murugan and continue from here. Is that fine at your end, Mr. Hardik? Thank you. Thank you for that. Now I will move on to the first question that I got, and I would like Mr. Sri Murugan to help us understand this. The question, I'm reading it for you. Why should I move to the cloud when we have on-premise SAP setup? Your views.
Yeah, so if everything is working, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Okay. So if everything is working hunky-dory right now on-premise, right, there is no real reason to move to cloud. But I can definitely give you some, food for thought, right? One is you're subject to a hardware refresh cycle every 3 or 5 years, right? Whereas on Google Cloud, we continuously optimize your hardware. We don't charge you for the underlying bare metal. We only charge you for the VM that you will need as per the sizing for your requirements, right? The refresh of hardware, we keep doing it at no cost for the customer. So that's a cost that you'll have to incur. And moreover, I've also touched upon the security aspects of having your data reside on Google and pass through Google networks. The fact that, we provide you with an infrastructure that is subject to literally zero downtime, right? And the fact that we are enterprise grade ready for SAP with co-engineered VMs, right, which are certified by SAP. These definitely make a great use case, a great business case for you folks to consider moving just for the sake of improved infrastructure, stability, efficiency, increased security, and last but definitely not the least, reduction of your costs, right? So it makes sense for you to move to the cloud.
Thank you. Thank you for making it so clear. Mr. Abdul, the next question is for you, which is related to cost, and it says, we have to move to SAP HANA in coming future. What do you suggest? We have a limited budget.
I think when we talk about cost, cost is a very important factor, and I wouldn't say moving to cloud is always cheap, but we always have to look into the ROI which you will be able to get. It's having your money at home versus having your money at bank, right? So somebody may say, I'll have money at home and I have, with the best thing to protect it. But we don't keep money in bank because of security today, because, we get a lot of other benefits. I can, transfer money to other people seamlessly. I can integrate so many things. I can bring in so many. So I think the point of view which an organization should look in is, do they, as Ayaan was mentioning, they need to have a business use case, and see, is that investment worth enough, and are they going to get that ROI end of the day? So here we are not looking for cost optimization by reducing cost, but it's end of the day, what is the ROI you are going to get? Something you're investing X amount, and let's say you're getting 10% saving, and you are investing 1.1x, and you are getting 20% saving. So will that make sense? And it's not always about cost. As Mr. Sanjeev was mentioning, it's all about agility. Saving cost, you're not that agile as Mr. Sanjeev or Mr. Suresh was saying, to come up with things quickly in a particular situation. As Mr. Suresh was mentioning about the pandemic, how things have changed in pandemic. Can you really go quickly and really address that problem? So it's just not about savings. It's about how efficiently you will be able to get the ROI, from the investments.
Absolutely. ROI is the word that will definitely attract many people. Thank you for making that clear. With this, I will hand it over to Hardik to take things from here onwards. Over to you, Hardik.
So firstly, let me thank Mr. Sharma once again for being such an effortless moderator and summarizing the entire panel discussion succinctly. It truly has helped answer a lot of queries raised during this session. With this, we bring today's virtual conference to an end. However, to know more about Breo's cloud assessment workshop, please contact the team Breo at getoncloud@brio.co.in. I'll repeat that once again, as you can see on the screen, getoncloud@brio.co.in. Well, today's session, wouldn't have been a success without the active participation of all our esteemed speakers, our wonderful panelists, our audience members, and certainly our moderator. I would like to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out and being a part of the virtual conference today. A special thanks, however, to Google Cloud and Brio for the support for making this initiative possible. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. Take care and please stay safe.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Have a great day. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.